Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hi, and welcome back. It's your host, Amanda. How is everybody doing? It's so exciting to be here. I feel like I've missed you guys. Last week we had such a great episode with Jason Jenkins and got to talk to him about all of his, financial advice and his particular career and men's mental health and, how he decides to face his demons, which is what he calls, facing his bear, and the tools that he uses to kind of navigate his own life and his what now moments. And it went very well, and we received a lot of good feedback on that. So if you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to episode 25 with Jason and reach out to him if you're interested in consulting stuff like that in those industries. But hi, everybody. Welcome back. I have had quite a busy week. There's been a lot going on at work. My dad came in town this past week. We had a really good time chatting with one another, and he gave me a little bit of inspo for this week's episode, actually. And Dirks and I have just been chilling in Nashville and getting ready for, by the time this episode comes out, I will be getting ready to leave for my sister-in-law's bachelorette party. Lee has decided she wants to hang out in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. So we will be heading down to Fort Lauderdale very soon. And I am bringing all of my equipment with me. So you might get little clips of the bachelorette party. It'll be a little bit different than what we normally talk about for the show, but I think it'll be fun. And then I'm also going to get to spend a couple extra days with Stevie, who was our really lovely guest on episode 3. So I'm super excited to see her again and hopefully be able to record with her. She and I will have a good opportunity to catch up and come up with a new topic for the month. So super excited to see her and capture everything that she's been up to and her updates to share with you guys. Hopefully we'll get some good content. But really excited to just go back to Florida. One, because it's still half cold, half not in Nashville, and I got to get out of here. I need some more sunshine. As Lee has been saying all the last couple of months, like she can't wait to put her ass in the sand and have a drink in hand for 4 days straight. We'll see how that goes. If you're curious about the chewing ASMR that's going on, that's Dirks behind me. He's got a bone in his mouth, and I make no promises that he won't, quote unquote, accidentally drop it on the ground when he wants attention. So if you hear stuff happening in the background, that's what that is. It's my dog. Hopefully everybody had a good week, a good weekend. You had a chance to kind of recharge and reset and get ready for spring. Hopefully you're also not dying from all the pollen that's being released. All those trees trying to, for lack of a better term, get together. And hopefully it's not wreaking complete havoc on your life. I'm very surprised. Knock on wood. I have not react. No, it's okay. It was me. Don't do it. It's okay. He was afraid somebody was at the door. They're not. It's just me. Anyway, I'm very impressed that I have not had total havoc being wreaked on me right now, but another good reason for me to just get out of Tennessee. I don't know if my mom will remember this, but every time I think about pollen, I think about the ENT doctor I had growing up when I first lived here in Nashville, and how he absolutely begged me, please don't go to school in the South. Like, please get out of Tennessee. Please go, do college in the desert, find a career out there, go somewhere where there basically are no trees because this is your living hell. And bless him, he, performed multiple surgeries on me to try and help me figure out my nose and allergies. And it just, didn't quite take. I think they were helpful, but didn't quite take. Anyway, nobody asked to hear about my nose surgeries and pollen. So what do we actually want to talk about today, Amanda? I'm so glad you asked. Thank you for keeping me on topic. Let's go. This week I thought we could kind of cover a little bit about the inspiration behind the topic, and then I'll kind of dive into it. I had two significant conversations over the last week. One was with my father, and one was with a friend at the dog park that I had not seen in a while. Since I moved back to Nashville, I have been able to work with my dad a bit more often than I used to. The last time we ever spent this much time together in a professional sense was when I was in high school. And even then, I was an intern in a different division than what I do now at the marketing agency. So we didn't really see each other, but lately he's actually been around in the office, and I've been, witnessing him run the company to the capacity that he can right now with his schedule. And it's nice being able to have the historical influence and the founding philosophy available to me. But the actual best thing is that I think he and I have developed a much more honest relationship about, who we are and what we want over the next few years. And it's been really sweet, right? And I never thought that I would get to a place like that where I wouldn't be making him uncomfortable with what I had to say, but it's actually been really cool. And so he was down here for a few days for work, and one of the nights I got to see him, and he asked me, straight up, how are things going? What are some things that you want to improve on, or if you had advice for what to do next? Like, if it was your turn to do X, Y, or Z, which one would you pick? And I told him, right? And I told him what I deal with on a daily basis and what I'm witnessing on a daily basis. And that I understood that just because I witness something happening or not happening doesn't mean that that's a full truth, right? That that's actually what it is. It's just that this is how it's being perceived from the level that I work at. And he took that surprisingly well. And we did talk a bit about like kind of my future with what it is that I want to do there and where I want to go. But the really nice thing was that he basically told me, this is the plan, this is the 5-year plan that I have. But if that 5-year plan doesn't match with what it is that you want to do, you are not obligated to follow it. I don't expect you to do anything that you don't actually want to do. And if you want to go off somewhere else, I get that. And so we talked about it a little bit, but like, as of right now, I'm still trying to figure out what it is I want to do and what it is that I enjoy, and where can I best put my skills to use and feel utilized properly. I think I was missing that in my previous career, where just because I was really good at it didn't mean that I got to apply it in the most effective way possible. And through this podcast, I've realized that like I do value not necessarily that I have to be good at everything, but if I am actually really good at something that I care about and I'm denied the opportunity to execute that, it's very damaging. And for me personally, like from a personal perspective, and I have to find a way to either go down the path that will provide me the thing that I want, or for the time being, until I can figure out what that path is, I need to, figure out how to manage my frustration with understanding the reality on the ground in front of me. And the reality on the ground is that I actually have absolutely no control over any of the things that are going on. And the only thing I really can do is show up and do my job and wait it out. And the decision there is, do you wait? Is it worth waiting, right? And, is it worth going down a path that I truly haven't found yet, or I haven't formed yet? Or do I risk staying with the uncertain guarantee that I will have the end result that I want? And that's a lot to balance. So a couple days later, I ran into a friend at the dog park that I had not seen in a while. And while Dirks was playing with her pets, we were chatting, and I was catching her up because I don't think I'd seen her since last year. So I had told her about the podcast and that I, had changed careers and was having trouble with it and trying to figure out what to do next. And that I've really enjoyed this project, even though it feels kind of obviously very slow moving. I am not naive enough to think that I'm going to blow up tomorrow, right? Like, or not that poor choice of words. not naive enough to think that any of my content would go viral by tomorrow, because that's just not true, right? Yeah, we get it. I know that. But that for whatever reason, I have this unwavering belief in myself that like I had been thinking about doing this for years, and I wasn't able to with my previous position, and you having a public facing identity is just really not typically not allowed. And I never did it. I stopped doing it, and now that I'm in a different position, I am able to do that, and like it's actually going a little bit better than I thought it would. And so she was super supportive and like intrigued about it all, and we kind of chatted about making that decision. At one point in our conversation, I told her that before I moved, the moment that I had the realization that I needed to make the change was when I realized that I was not happy with how I was envisioning, my life going, right? If I had stayed with the government and, completed my 20 years and got my retirement and my pension, I get out in my 50s, or almost 50s, I guess, early 50s. Was I going to be happy with what that life looked like? Starting over at 50 with a different career, and, a new chapter, etc. Or did I want to, take potentially the wrong path and pursue a different dream, but 20 years down the line, in my early 50s, my life could be something completely, magical. Like I could have complete control over everything that I wanted to do and create and have potentially more financial freedom, more schedule freedom, more just happiness, because any decision that I was making was based on mine and mine alone, right? Like I would have more ownership over my life. But that was kind of what clicked for me. Would I rather run the risk of taking the wrong path, but more likely to find potential happiness because I did something on my own for me? Or would I rather stick to the path that I have, that I know does have an automatic endpoint? It's got a 20-year career, trajectory. It's got all those benefits at the end that you can take advantage of. But you got to wait 20 more years. You got to wait 20 more years of this bullshit. You got to cut 20 more years worth of this red tape. You've got to your promotion potential only goes in two different directions, and neither of them will guarantee the opportunities that you actually want to go after. Do you stay in the fishbowl where you have already been proven to be, you've already been shown that they are more than willing to make you feel miserable. But, at the end of the 20 years, yeah, maybe you were miserable for 20 and you did get to do some cool things, but you weren't really guaranteed to get, the family life that you ever wanted. You're not guaranteed to, have the financial and personal freedoms that somebody else would on the other side, that somebody else would on the unknown path. And I told my friend, what clicked for me was that I had decided that I would rather take the risk of investing in myself than to stay for an uncertain guarantee. Would I prefer being miserable for longer with the promised and known promised benefits at the end of the path, or do I run the risk of the path that, I've never tried before? I'm going to be building it brick by brick on my own. There's no lights, there's no benefits, until one day it just finally clicks for you. And I left. I did not want to risk waking up 20 years later realizing, great, I get to retire now. For what? With who? That's great. I had a 20-year career doing this amazing thing, and there are a lot of highly qualified, highly skilled, highly reputable people that are there, that are doing amazing things. And I'm very proud of them and proud to have been a part of it for those few years. But I think deep down, if I had stayed and I did the 20 and I walked out of there feeling like I had nothing else to show for it other than this amazing resume, I would risk feeling like I had lost. And I didn't want to risk feeling any more lost than I already felt in that exact present moment. And that was mind-blowing for me to wake up that day and be like, I think I would rather see what I look like in 20 years on the other path. I think I'd rather like to see what that woman looks like, what she's accomplished, what she's done, what lessons and mistakes and processes she's developed for herself. I want to meet her. I don't know that I want to meet the other one. Not that I wouldn't have been proud of either woman, but who's the woman I wanted? Who's the woman I really wanted to become? How do I envision her? And what does she look like? And what has she done with her life? And it wasn't the woman in the current path that I was on at that time. I wanted to meet the other one. And so she and I just, it really clicked for me after I had that conversation with her that that's what I needed to talk about this week. Taking the wrong path or running the risk of that uncertain guarantee. Like, insert emoji where the girl puts her hands up in the air, like, I don't know. But yeah, so we chatted, the last couple of days ago, where we were just, I was explaining, that like slow and steady wins the mistakes. I've been listening to other podcasts and interviews with, potential guests that I would like to meet someday, and a few of them talked about how people make mistakes and the lessons that you're able to learn from them. And it's not necessarily that making mistakes is bad, but it's how you react to what happened to you or what you did that determines whether or not you're actually going to make that mistake transformative. Eddie Pinero talks on some of his motivational podcast stuff. He talked a little bit about, two things can be true at once. You can be sorry for what it is that you've done or the mistake that you might have made, but you can also be grateful for the moment to better yourself. And that's one of the best ways to, quote unquote, win your mistake, is that when something bad like that happens or things don't go your way or you are messing up. So sometimes there's just seasons of when you're truly just messing up thing after thing after thing, and you're kind of like, God, I wish I could figure this out. I wish this would make sense. I wish I hadn't been that asshole in that moment, or I wish I had controlled my anger better. I wish I had said the thing that I needed to say and never did it. I thought it was just interesting that he tries to teach his audience how to be grateful for the moments to better yourself. Because in the moment they hurt, and in the moment you feel stupid or slighted or angry with whatever it is that's happened. But he tries to teach his audience about gratitude for losses, gratitude for mistakes, gratitude for things not going your way, actually. And when they don't go your way, it's sometimes it's a good thing. It's purpose pushing you in the direction you're supposed to be going in, right? So I think that's really important. And it would also be important to keep in mind that, like, you're never dumb or less than for looking up to your future ideals. If you are envisioning who you want to be in your life and the person that you're trying to become, and who am I and where am I going and who do I envision myself at the end of this? What does that person look like? What does that ideal Amanda do? And how do I become her? Eddie talked a bit about that, just like when you are trying to become this new version of yourself and you end up making mistakes along the way and you're imperfect in those efforts, you're not dumb for not getting it right. You're not less than for looking up to who you want to be and falling short. The person who you want to be made all those mistakes and worked their way up that ladder to be the better version of themselves by the repetition of doing it over and over again and messing up over and over again and retrying over and over again. So that's where I think he would hope that, like, your gratitude would build over time and you're grateful for the ideal person you want to become, because they're helping you set the standard of what your life in the present day looks like and the standards that life in the present day needs to have in order to get to where you want to go. So That's crucial. And learning how to turn all these losses into lessons obviously takes time, because sometimes I also talked to a different friend over the past couple of days who went through a really terrible breakup, and so many people had, warned this person, hey, I think the person you're trying to date isn't really working out for you. They've done X, Y, and Z. You should really be careful. And my friend wanted, heard those things, but they are young and they wanted to make their own mistakes. And they were in that mentality of, well, everybody has said this, but I kind of need to see for myself. I need to learn this lesson for myself. And, that's fine. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'm sure we've all been there before, where somebody tells you, hey, don't do the thing. And you're like, oh, sure. No, totally. I definitely won't. And then you immediately go off and do that. I'm sure that's some kind of cognitive bias, right? Where like people tell you, don't do the thing, don't think about this. And then all you can do is think about exactly that one thing, only that. Don't touch all the signs that always say do not touch. And you're like, I'm going to touch it. I'm going to touch it right now. So how do you turn, and how do you turn those losses into actual lessons? If everybody already warned you, don't do the thing, and you go and do the thing, did you actually learn your lesson? Sometimes it takes a couple of times. Sometimes you got to make the mistake multiple times until it truly light bulb goes off the insert light bulb sound here. And sometimes that just takes time, right? Sometimes lessons are occurring without warning. So you're living in ignorance just because you've never had the experience before yourself. Or sometimes lessons will come because people did warn you and you decided, nah, I got to do this for myself first to really gain the life experience. Either way, Eddie Pinero in his podcasts also talked about, you don't need to apologize for being ignorant, but the real tragedy would be if you decide to plant a stake in the ground and call the ignorance home. So you're going to make mistakes throughout your life, right? You're going to, nobody's perfect. So nobody's ever going to have it all together all the time. And anybody that says they have it all together all the time is a liar. So don't fall for that. I think you guys know by now from listening to the show, not to do that, but don't apologize for being ignorant, but also don't turn that loss and that lesson into a tragedy by not choosing to learn from it. Choosing to stay in your ignorance is the wrong decision, right? Choosing to remain ignorant when there's so many signs in front of you, choosing to remain ignorant when there's an opportunity to grow and be a better person, choosing to remain ignorant at the risk of your own health and your own benefit, at the risk of other people around you. It's kind of selfish. Like why stay small? Why stay closed off? Why stay preoccupied with staying wrong? When it could be so much easier to just go, that's yikes. Shouldn't have done that. Yikes. That was bad. That was wrong. I can't do that again. People put a whole lot of guilt and shame around messing up and not being perfect and not being exactly the ideal specimen that everybody's looking for, and the clean cut, put together person, the always politically correct, always on time, always perfectly manicured and presented. And it's kind of like, if that's not you, don't fake it, but also don't lie to yourself when you've messed up. Don't dig your heels in deeper and stay stuck in that hole. If there's a way out, I don't see why you should feel bad for not knowing at the time, but beating yourself up over it won't fix it and won't change the fact that you made a mistake, and continuing to remain ignorant doesn't fix the problem either. So you got to figure out a better way to turn those losses into lessons and minimize the guilt and the shame around it taking time for you to grow. Minimize the guilt and the shame surrounded by, the time it takes for you to process who you are and who you are becoming. Find a way to minimize the guilt and the shame for not being there yet. There's nothing wrong with you trying to learn about who you are and where you want to go and what you want to do with your life. The problem is when you you decide not to fix your issues because you don't want to do the hard work to get to, the end goal. You don't want to address the failure when it happens to avoid that again. You don't actually want to manifest what is truly worthwhile in your life because it's going to take effort to get there. That's the tragedy. Why would you do that? Why stay there? So if, nothing worthwhile comes easy, how are you actually going to stay on course without getting discouraged? Oh, excellent question. Truth is, no idea, because getting discouraged has happened to me so much lately. Being discouraged, frustrated, feeling like I'm not moving forward the way that I want to move forward, or moving forward the way that I think I'm supposed to be moving forward, and like reconciling the differences there, of like, okay, yes, this might be your reality right now, but every day that I'm choosing to improve myself, every day that I'm choosing to challenge myself, every day that I'm choosing to be vulnerable, and every week that I'm getting on this show and spilling my guts out onto the internet, every day that I am doing something different that helps me feel fulfilled is a day where I feel less discouraged, is a day that I can comfort myself in knowing that I don't know where I'm going right now, but I took a step forward today. And that's kind of the things that I personally think about. But I did a bit more research into, some of the other people that I admire, about that same kind of existential question. How do you stay on course without getting discouraged? How do you stay on course if you don't really know where you're? How do you get to that end state of your, ideal, purpose-filled life? How do you get there, and how do you not give up? So I started researching more people that I admire, and in this mental health and self-loss and personal growth journey space, and wanted to listen to their lessons as well. And like, it helped by doing that because I feel empowered by having information. My personality and me as a person, I feel more encouraged and stable if I educate myself. I feel improved and better prepared for whatever it is that may come, if I, arm myself with more information. So that was helpful for me. So that's one thing that I do when I'm starting to feel discouraged. Like, let me go find something that might resonate with me or might help me rechart, my path here if I'm feeling off. But I felt very, very much so. I felt much better and less alone in this moment because I realized that the reality is the end state does not exist. And Amanda, what do you mean by that? What end state? What are you talking about? Well, so there is this financial advisor, life coach, mindfulness advocate, health and fitness advocate, but essentially investor and startup advisor. He has a weekly newsletter as well, where he kind of gives you his 5 or 6 quick insights for the week. And his name is Sahil Bloom, and he has a massive following all over social media and YouTube and LinkedIn and stuff like that. He's on the list of ideal guests that I would love to chat with someday about this particular journey and discipline and self-improvement and loss and identity as well, because I think he'd have a lot of great insights. But I digress. I was listening to some of his interviews, and he does a lot of quick videos on his YouTube, and one of the videos, and I'll make sure to link it here, he started to talk about how the end state does not exist. And he does a lot of traveling to give speeches and as a keynote speaker, a panelist, doing interviews all over the world. And he said that a lot of people ask him, how do you find, purpose and meaning in your life, and how do you get to your end goal and your end state? Like, how do you become the person you were meant to be, kind of a thing. And he said, honestly, the harsh truth is that you never actually figure it out when it comes to your life, no matter whether you're the most successful person in the world or someone just starting out. Everyone is in the process of figuring out their life over time. And you're never going to reach that end state. You're never actually going to figure your life out. There is no mythical place where you know exactly what it is you need to do with your life, because that end state doesn't actually exist. If you're truly on a purposeful growth journey, every stage of your life has different challenges. Every stage of your growth process is going to come with different challenges, different lessons, different insights. And that kind of changes who you are. So each varying moment throughout your life where this journey is happening, your purpose and your end state could also change. And so whether you're, a billionaire, or you're fresh out of college, whether you've got, 6 or 7 different businesses, or you're still working for somebody else, like, it doesn't matter who you are in life. Nobody completely has it all figured out. Nobody knows exactly what it is they want to be when they grow up, because you can be anything, because that end state is constantly moving and it's constantly changing. So one way that you can have relief while you're relentlessly trying to pursue your dream is to know that, like, nobody has it figured out. Nobody knows exactly what their end state is going to be. You can have an ideal person in your mind that you want to become. You can reach for that as much as possible, but there has to be some flexibility while you're going through all of this, because if you stay so rigid about what your dream and your end point is going to be, what's going to happen once you get there? If you only think towards this one moment, and it's the one moment that you have, and you do finally achieve it, you reach your goal, then what? How do you ever sustain happiness if there's only one moment that you're trying to create? There's only one thing that you ever want to become at the end of the day, right? And if it doesn't exist, you're going to spend your whole life trying to figure that out, and all of your energy and purpose and self-worth are wrapped up into something that you'll never actually be able to create. And I thought that was that, I mean, it's dark. Let's be real, that, like, you admire all these people either on the internet or on social media or in pop culture or politics or whatever, and it turns out your idols also have no idea what they're doing. They also are still trying to, just be, theoretically, they're trying to be the best possible versions of themselves that they can, and they don't have it figured out either. And that's the relief, really, that while you are working on this relentless pursuit of your dream life, your dream path, it's going to be okay while you're making mistakes on it. It's going to be okay while you are learning about who you are on this path and who you are in pursuit of this dream, who you become in the pursuit of this dream, because just like the people you admire, you don't have to have it figured out yet. Nobody has to have it figured out yet. You're going to continue to have what now moments for the rest of your life. You are going to continue to have, holy shit, I can't believe this is going on. What do I do? What now? What direction? What choice? What decision do I make? Those questions never actually go away. No matter how successful you are, how much money you have, the life you've built, like, if you are relentlessly pursuing your ideal self, the end goal, that end state is going to keep evolving. It's going to keep moving. The goalpost is going to keep getting further and further. And it just kind of is what it is, I guess. But, one of the nice things that I was able to find while I was, going through this research and listening to these other interviews is that there are a couple of things that you can do during this pursuit of your dream. Like, if the truth is that the end goal and the end state it doesn't exist, that no matter how successful you are, nobody's going to have it figured out. Nobody's going to know exactly what their life is supposed to look like, or their purpose is supposed to be, what you could do instead, in the meantime, while you're working on becoming the person you want to become. You have to do a couple of things. So based on this research, you have to do a couple of things. One, you have to keep asking questions. You have to be okay with not being good at something at first. You have to be okay with, doing 2 steps forward pushes you 3 steps back. If life is constantly changing, you have to constantly ask the questions to match with what's going on in your environment. If you move, if you learn a new skill, if you join a new industry, if you get a new mentor, if you want to try a different hobby, a different task, you want to get out of the industry that you're in because you want to start your own business someday and you want to work for yourself, you want to set your own schedules, you got to keep asking questions. You got to keep finding ways to humble yourself and offer yourself the opportunity to learn from others who may have already been down that path, or build yourself off of the shoulders of the people that came before you, and you're going to struggle, right, with moral and ethical questions all the time, but only you know your true heart, and only you know what exactly it is that you want to become and the effort that it's going to take to get there. So keep asking questions while you're working on how to get there. The second is you've got to start running towards the things that light you up instead of running away from the things that scare you the most. So if you're going to be expending all this energy figuring out your path, I really hope that you pick a path that's at least exciting. You pick a path that, it's hard. It might be really rocky. It might be kind of dark. There may not be a lot of light. You may not have other people that have done it before you. So maybe you're a solopreneur and you're starting something completely from scratch that people haven't done often, or at least they haven't done before that you know of. And like, you might be scared because you feel like you're the only one doing it. But if it lights you up, that's how you know that you're on a path that's going to be meaningful for you. That's how you know that you're going in a direction that could be helpful for you. Maybe it doesn't get you to where you thought you wanted to go, but it's a path that brings you joy. It's a path that helps you feel fulfilled and moved. That's what you got to do. So run towards the things that light you up, not stop running away from the things that scare you. And Sahil Bloom uses this kind of term, you have to have a bias for action. You need to be willing to go for something no matter what. And I think he's probably right. You've got to surround yourself with environments or opportunities where it encourages you to take action. I think staying indecisive kills your creativity. Staying indecisive prevents you from being able to move forward and being able to even make a mistake. Because if you stay exactly where you're at and expect things to change, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Nothing's actually going to show up for you unless you start running towards it. So that's what I would do. And third, the research basically said that you need to surround yourself with great people. Surround yourself with people smarter than you. Surround yourself with people who have knowledge and wisdom that you can pull from and apply to your life, or apply to the path that you're trying to go down. Are there people in your life right now who are supporting your decisions appropriately? Are there people in your life right now who want to see you pursue your passions, or they at least believe in your pursuit of happiness? Maybe they don't agree with what it is that you're doing, or they don't understand how it's going to turn out into something, but are you surrounded by people that are supporting you to be happy? Those are the kind of people that you need to keep in your life. Are there people in your life that are not? Are there people that are actually toxic? Are there people that are taking advantage of your energy? Are there people around you who only want you for convenience sake? And if that's the case, then you gotta reevaluate, all right, can I get to where I want to go if I'm not in an environment that's supporting my supporting my mistakes, supporting my choices to learn my own lessons, supporting my ability to try something and fail at it and do better next time, and if you're not in a place like that, can you cut out that toxicity? I would just think through those things. But if you can do those 3 things, keep asking questions, be more inclined to take action, run towards things that light you up, and surround yourself with great people, then you won't really have to worry so much at the end. You won't really have to worry so much about the end state because you're enjoying the process. You're enjoying the journey. You are improving your life. You are building future benefits for your life because you are doing these 3 things. You are creating a future for yourself where you will have those kinds of freedoms, where you will get to live the life that you want to live because you are becoming the person that you want to be. And that's the end state. And of course, we all know that anything worthwhile, it's not going to happen overnight. But if you quit, it'll never happen at all. So I'd like to leave you with that thought. Same thing that I kind of had when I, 2-ish years ago when I decided to leave national security and come back to Nashville. I can't keep running the risk of staying for an uncertain guarantee when there's a risk that I could lose out on being happy if I tried something different. I don't really know. I don't know how I'm doing. I don't know if any of the steps I'm taking right now are making any kind of sense toward the end state that I actually want to live in, but I have visions for this show. I have visions for what I want it to look like and feel like and sound like and the people I would like to meet, and it won't happen overnight, but if I quit, it'll never happen at all. And I saw this, I don't know if you guys follow Third Eye Thoughts on Instagram or not, Third Eye Thoughts, but they are an inspirational page, and they posted a quote the other day that said, "You are the greatest project that you will ever work on. Restart, reset, refocus as many times as you need. Just don't give up." And that really stuck with me because I honestly, it's so true. It's so true. You are the greatest project you are ever going to work on. You can, Jess Sims says, you can be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. You never have to be perfect, but as long as you're working on yourself, you're going to get pretty damn close. So if you're living in a moment right now where you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to restart, you're trying to decide whether or not you even have the ability to reset your life, you do. You do, and you can. You can refocus as many times as you need to become the person you want to become. Just don't give up. Because if you give up, it won't happen at all. And that would be the tragedy. All right, that is all for this week's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think of the show and how things are going. Like, subscribe, please leave a review. I love reading all the different reviews. I am super encouraged by all the feedback I have received so far. But yes, please like, subscribe, share, send the episode to anybody you think might enjoy this episode or who could benefit from the podcast. If you have any ideas for guests that you would like to see on the show, I am totally open to that as well. You can always reach out to me at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. All of my contact info will be in the show notes for the episode. All of the discount codes for any of the products that I use are also at the bottom of the episode notes. So feel free to check those out. If y'all have any questions at all about the show or about any of the products that I use, I'm so happy to chat about them. I love all of these companies so much, but thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting me and my show. It truly means the absolute world to me. And I really do love hearing your feedback. I love learning about what's going on in my listeners' lives and how, my mistakes and my my virtual diary here can help you feel less alone and less lost in the world, and hopefully eventually get you to a place where you feel found. But I appreciate all of you very, very much. Please share the show. Let me know what you think, and I will catch up with y'all again in a couple of weeks. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.